In 2015, I welcomed you all to my comic shop history to bid farewell to alternate realities. Together, we went on a journey that has lasted 5 seasons. That journey has taken us across the county and the country as we've explored shops, conventions, and collecting. But as a great man once said, part of the journey is the end. Behold the conclusion to our 2-part finale event entitled My Comic Shop Future, as the alternate reality saga draws to a close. Everything comes full circle with this final piece of My Comic Shop history.
I can't believe I'm still here. It's been a lifetime since I tried to forget. This can't be home, yet it means everything to me. I have a new life, and I can't ever look back.
Welcome to the finale of My Comic Shop history. I am your host, Anthony Desiato, and for this momentous occasion, I am joined by 3 alternate realities legends. Bill Maio.
Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Anthony.
Rich Roney.
I'm thrilled to be here.
And the once and future SCO himself, Stephen K. Oto.
I can't believe we're still doing these.
That's the spirit. So let's take care of some quick business right up front, okay? Bill, still sad the store's closed?
I'm devastated.
Boom. Rich, friendship and fun?
Yes.
Boom. Oto, still happy you closed the store?
Happier than I've ever been.
Boom. Done. All right, now we move forward. Again, this episode is called My Comic Shop Future. We will be looking back one more time, of course, but I figure we could get that all out right at the front. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. SCO, you're back. You were here for the season premiere of this cycle of My Comic Shop history, and you're back again.
You know, my memory is so bad now, I don't remember doing the premiere.
Wonderful.
Okay. This is all new to me. This is
Feels
great.
like last week, though, right?
Yeah, it feels that way. This time I brought reinforcements.
Okay.
It was quite the performance you gave in episode 5.1.
What did I say?
Well, we talked about Heroes World.
I learned
yeah.
that you were an employee of a Heroes World. I never knew that.
Oh, just a part-time, a couple of...
It's kind of-
in fact, was it, I think, Sean Hendricks from
Fat Moose Comics.
Moose. He, I guess, clipped a couple of quotes from that on his Facebook page about how, I guess you were a little disappointed that I didn't have more enthusiasm.
Well, not that I was, well, I will address that. So basically, I know Bill and Rich, you haven't had a chance to listen to the episode yet, but this is basically how it went. Steve, wasn't it something when Heroes World opened at a time when there weren't comic shops in Westchester? Not really. Like, I've been to a lot of comic shops in my life. All right. Steve, man, I was devastated when Heroes World closed. I've seen businesses come and go my whole life. I said, Steve, was there anyone at Heroes World, anyone who was to you what you were to us at alternate realities? He goes, nah, not really. That was basically, that was the whole episode.
Way to kick off a season.
But the difference is that, I guess, when Heroes World opened, how old were you? You were still like early teens,
when
right?
it opened, I wasn't born, but I went there when I was 5.
Yeah. I mean, you have to remember that when I was at Heroes World, I was in my late 20s, mid-late 20s. So I'd been going to Manhattan, to all the different comic shops. I traveled around the country, and every city I went to every comic store that the city had to offer.
Yeah.
I'd already been to law school, and I had a regular comic book store that I'd been going to for 3 years straight every week. I've
Even
gone
at
to
the beginning, you
Rich
were
and
jaded, huh?
Rich and I went to comic conventions.
Yeah.
During the summers all the time.
But
So
here's the thing. So I say, I give that whole preface, but then I say this. You know, when I put up these episodes, people like the posts and stuff, but it's not all the time that people will actually give me feedback on the episode. And I got to tell you, within hours of me posting this, I had all these people, great episode. I love the episode. So it worked out great.
Yeah. But again, I was old enough that I didn't have anybody that I would look to and say, oh, this is a great influence for my life. I had already pretty much gotten to my rut, hate everything. And, so there was no, Rich wants to say something.
What I take from this is your viewers loved Steve's nihilistic, defeatist attitude.
His very matter-of-fact approach. Steve is very much just the facts.
Yeah, the bottle's half empty.
So, but I thank you for coming back. I thank you for all of your appearances on the show. I'm so glad that we have. I mean, this is quite the lineup here at this table, and we've never all been together. So this is really something. So I said that this was the finale, right? I didn't say series finale, but I didn't say season finale either. So this is very much. I've been approaching this season and this episode as the culmination of the alternate realities saga. This is the end of the story that I've been telling this era of the podcast. And recently, I've really been thinking a lot about the importance of endings, how much it matters to bring what you're doing to a close so that you can move on to the next chapter in life and in your creative projects, whatever it might be. I don't know if anyone ever read Alias, the Bendis series from Marvel. No. It ran 28 issues. So at the end of the 28th issue, in the letters page, Bendis wrote a note to the fans, and he said, we'll take him at his word that this was genuine. He was like, this wasn't planned to be the final issue, but I wrote it, and I stopped, and I said, I think I just wrote the end to the series. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the series would be relaunched, and the character would live on, but that was the end of that specific series. And that was kind of the feeling I had when I started mapping out this season. You know, we started the podcast with alternate realities. We went on this epic journey to all of these shops and conventions, talked about collecting. And then as I was mapping out this season about the comic shops of my youth, the Westchester comic shop scene that was, including alternate realities, I had that same moment where I was like, this is it, I think. We're bringing everything full circle, and this is a perfect place to just sort of not stop forever, but take a nice break. So to those of you who have been listening, I can't thank you enough. However and wherever you're subscribed to this podcast, keep that subscription going. We will return one day. I don't know exactly what form, what format, what focus. I don't know what shape the podcast will take in the future. But this is not goodbye forever. But this is the end of the alternate reality saga, just like Avengers Endgame wrapped up the Infinity War saga. So we'll have to see what becomes of Oto. Will he meet his end like Tony Stark, or will he live a happy life like Steve Rogers? We don't know.
I didn't see Endgame.
What a spoiler!
Had you avoided spoilers until this point?
No.
No?
I'll see it at some point.
But you, did I tell you something that you didn't know?
Learn anything. No.
All right. Sorry about that. But we'll have to see what becomes of all of us.
Yeah.
So that's where we are with this episode. So, and I just want to say, while we're giving, or expressing gratitude, obviously I thank all of you, everyone who has been on this show. We've really had some terrific guests over the years, and it's been great. Whether they're people I know very well and we can have a really fun conversation, or someone who I'm getting to know through the episodes, it's really been fantastic. Everyone who has listened to the show, I appreciate it more than you can know. Our patrons, it's really funny. I did an episode with One of My Cards, Two of My Comics, and I spoke to Mark and Donna Rubin. Mm-hmm. And when I was done doing the after show with Donna, and as I was packing up, she was like, if you don't mind me asking, like, do you make money doing this? And I said, well, you know what? I'm actually at the point now where, thanks to Patreon, this doesn't cost me money to do. And that's a big difference, So to everyone who signed up and has been pledging to the Patreon page, it's made a difference in my life. So I really appreciate that very much. And on the note of Patreon, not to sound like sour grapes, because I know there are a lot of reasons why someone might not sign up. I know all the reasons, so that's perfectly fine. But I love when I post the Patreon exclusive episodes on social media and people like them, and they're people who I know listen to the show regularly, like all the time, but they're not Patreon members, but they always like it. And it makes me laugh because it's like, I think they like knowing that it's out there. They don't want it enough that they would sign up. But they like knowing it's there. It gives them comfort, I think, to know that it's out there.
It's a collection of toys in his house.
He just likes to know
he has it. You always said
like
that.
collection of everything.
Yeah, you always said that.
I take comfort in knowing that I own one. I just don't know where it is.
Exactly.
But I know it's there.
Yes. So to everyone who has signed up, and even those who didn't, I thank you all. And I want to also give a shout out to Dan Pritchard, my Australian guardian angel. He's done theme music every year for us from season 2 on. Always comes up with something awesome. And on the note of music, Ralph Puma, I used his tunes in season 1, in the documentary special that came out prior to this season, and in this finale episode. So Ralph's music, his band Rosewood Rebels, you heard them at the beginning, and you'll hear them at the end of this episode. And of course, to my ever-patient wife for hearing a lot about these podcasts and listening to these podcasts while we record and while I edit. So to everyone who's been part of this journey, I thank you all very, very much.
Yeah, but hey, we got to give kudos to you. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
no. In all
I'll tell you,
seriousness,
yeah.
your passion and your enthusiasm and your energy, you get things together and you kind of galvanize people to get interested, and you come up with subjects and content and people to interview. So your energy and passion, I think, has helped carry this a lot.
I appreciate that.
And to go a step further, for season 1, for me living in New Mexico, it was exactly what I needed. As the store was closing, and the months leading up to it, it was like my news source. Really, is to listen to the podcast every week to find out what's happening, what's the news.
Oh,
And
it's
so
very kind
I
of you guys.
appreciated that.
I appreciate that. See, this is why I'm glad you guys are here. Odo would just stare at me. No, I'm just kidding.
Can I just
Yes.
to Rich? Do you know what Patreon is?
Why you gotta
Was
call
this
them
one
out?
of the secret questions?
I'm just curious.
No.
Okay.
No.
And same with me.
No.
It's like I think Anne.
Anne's a member.
but I have no idea how to do it.
Well, it's all right. I mean,
So-
you guys can share the content. I think that's allowed. But as far as the future of the podcast, Sko, you've had an idea for me. Every time I see you, you tell me what I should do for the future.
Yeah, and it's like everything else, everybody just ignores what I say, so it doesn't really
No,
matter.
that's not true. I haven't done it, but I haven't ignored it.
Actually, it's not just you. He tells everyone what to do.
Steve,
I
don't
make
know-
it sound like it's your idea, though.
I'm
Right?
not that good at that.
Believe me, Steve, we know when it's your idea. There's no doubt.
But I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Graham Norton show.
Yeah,
This is
of course. I like that
British
guy.
talk
Are we gonna
show host.
sing like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air song?
Hey man, anything goes in the finale. I don't have to worry about people coming back after this.
He's had
one,
Will
so-
Smith on like 3 times, and he's had him do it like every time.
No, so I don't know if you're probably not familiar, Rich, but this British talk show, and the host typically has 3 guests on a couch, right? And it's usually a fun,
3 to
lively
4
time.
guests, yeah, and they all come out at the same time, as opposed to American talk shows, where it's introduction to the guest, little talk, and then they shift over, and the new guest comes out. And I always thought it was such a great idea that if we did that for the comic shop stuff, and as opposed to one-on-one conversations, where like we if we were sitting on the couch and there was a camera on us, I guess I have to have a camera operator, but panning back and forth because then we tell stories and laugh and all this kind of stuff. And I would think that's actually, I thought it'd be interesting because then the audience feels like they're the participant sitting at the couch with us and watching, as opposed to listening, sitting there and just listening to a conversation.
Absent the camera, aren't we doing that exact thing right now?
Yeah, but I think visual is important. It's like comic books. You can read a great book, prose, but with comics, it's a visual medium. So it could be the greatest story ever, but if the art's terrible, you're not concentrating on it, right? You don't know.
You're right, Steve.
Have you been?
Excuse me.
I'm glad you thought of that idea, Rich.
Are you convinced yet that this is your idea, Anthony?
So here's the thing, like in all seriousness, you're not ignored. I mean, your point is well taken, and
I just planted the idea. You're going to take the ball and run with it.
well, so because you're not the first to suggest video, right? Like Chris Wilcock, who's been on the show a bunch of times,
Yeah.
like he's always like, you got to put this on YouTube. The thing is, I'm not opposed to the idea, but it adds a whole other element of production and post-production.
I'm sure.
And so there's that aspect of it. And then I love what we're doing here, and adding a camera, aside from the production component, changes the vibe a little bit. And I like the intimacy of the audio only recording. So it's not something where like, oh, I refuse to do it, but it's something I need to kind of figure out what would make the most sense. As far as having like 3 to 4 guests at a time, it's been very hard just to schedule these 8 episodes, and most of the episodes are one-on-one. So there's a whole logistical piece of this that gets very, very challenging. But, I don't think people should be shocked if they see video podcasts from me at some point in the future, in some way, shape, or form, because I do think there's opportunity there. So we'll see.
Look forward to that.
Inception complete.
What do you, Bill? What do you think I should do?
I mean, I think that's a great idea, but I understand it, the amount of work that would take. I mean, just editing the documentary films took you a tremendous amount of time, and so
We
if
can
each
never
episode,
quantify how much time.
I can't
that took.
imagine, Anthony. So if each episode has 2 hours of audio and then the video that you have to trim down, I can't imagine that's easy.
Oh, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying that this is a different,
Oh, it'd be
maybe
great.
the next step.
No, I think it'd be great.
Well, I mean, you've been doing this now for like 5 seasons of podcasts.
Yeah.
So I think that becomes the next thing. I mean, you don't put out.
So how does that work? Is it a podcast and then there's a video component, or it's just the video component there's no podcast anymore.
Well, there are a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, I would probably want to cover as many bases as possible. So if I did that, I would film. Well, there are different ways. Like I could film just a piece of the episode and put that on YouTube as just an excerpt. And then it could be, if you want to listen to the entire episode, go to iTunes or something like that. Or I could film the entire thing. You know, it really depends. I think I would, either way, I would still continue to post the audio of the episodes as I have been, just so that that's still there as well. But we'll see. Rich, do you have any ideas? Not even on the video front, but as far as like what else could I talk about in the future?
Boy, your interests are so broad, and one thing I've always admired, you delve into it. You just don't take it at face value. I think your idea about combining the two and maybe filming a portion of it and then having the whole thing on audio is great. But to your point, though, the whole logistics, bringing a camera in, the logistical aspects, I think adds a whole nother dimension, and that would be very time consuming. So I don't know if you want to go there.
Yes.
What about the idea of using a short 2-minute, 5-minute video clip, put that in the world, put that out in YouTube for the world to see, and that's almost like a advertisement to say, come join Patreon or whatever else to sign up for. Did you talk about this while I was on the phone?
I literally just said this while you were checking your phone.
What are you doing?
Sorry. Message came in, kind of important. Okay.
But I'll say this. I appreciate the suggestions. As far as what the subject matter would be and the format, I don't know yet, and I don't think I should know at this point. I don't think this is something that I really can decide right now or that I should. I think once I've had some time away from this, I think it'll become clear what I want to talk about and what interests me. So we'll revisit this in the future. But
You think you're done with comics, though, for a while? With your podcast and your other materials?
For the immediate future,
right?
I think so. But we're still here. We still have a lot of episode to go, a lot of finale to go, and we got some good stuff coming up here. Since it's the finale, I feel like it's time for some secrets to be revealed, amongst us, maybe, and certainly for our listeners. So, Stephen K. Oto, we call you SCO, your initials SKO. Nobody knows what that K stands for. It's very mysterious. For years, people have been writing to me. They're like, what is this? And I'm like, you got to wait for the finale. We can't reveal it until the end.
People don't need to know.
But people need to know. So now, let's not say it yet. But Bill, you know?
I know.
You know. Rich, do you know?
Yes, I know.
I mean, you've known Steve for a long time, so I'm not surprised. I found out a good few years ago, but I've kept it under my hat because I want to respect your privacy. But it's the finale, so we're gonna let it out now.
You're building it up to like something so fantastic. The secret of the universe is in that initial K. It's nothing. It's a name. It's a name.
What if that's the secret to all your powers?
No, it's not.
It's not.
No.
Stephen Kryptonite.
So I'm gonna say it, and then you're going to tell me that
Correct
I pronounced
the pronunciation.
it wrong. Because it was basically like a who's on first routine the first time that Steve told me his middle name, and I repeated it the way I thought it was supposed to be pronounced, and he corrected me. We went back and forth. I thought I was saying exactly the same thing he was, but I wasn't. Keiichi.
Say it again.
Keiichi.
Close.
What's the correct?
Keiichi?
Keiichi.
Keiichi.
Keiichi. K is
I dragged it out too long.
well, it's Keiichi.
Just like it sounds.
The kanji, the Japanese character for K is from the word sonke, which is respect. Ichi is the number 1. So I was firstborn. So it's Keiichi. But you just kind of stretch it out. Keiichi.
Keiichi. Because when you told me, I said Keiichi, and you
So, yeah,
corrected me.
you know what
Yes.
for some reason Americans like to I'm doing this with my fingers, but what's the intonation? Is from low to high to low in Japanese words when it should be straight and down. So it's Keiichi.
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 Yeah. Oh.
There you go, folks.
There's a secret of the universe, everybody.
I hope that's what
Don't
your listeners
abuse it.
They've also been wondering what your social security number
So that gave us SCO, the
And
once
the
and future
passcode to your
SCO.
bank accounts.
All right, Rich, you're up next. Bill, you and I have observed something
Okay.
over the years that whenever we have a phone conversation with Rich, we treasure these phone conversations. You are the only Rich. You are the only person I talk to on the phone.
Rich calls me every Sunday.
Wow, that frequent. I don't get them that frequent.
Most Sunday. Used to every Sunday.
You're
But-
more generous.
Yeah.
He has a schedule, and then he has to cut you off because he's got to call the next guy.
Because sometimes I miss the call and I call back. He's like, I have to call you.
No, yeah.
Because he's already on
that's-
to the next guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but what Bill and I have, what you and I have observed over the years is
Yep.
that whenever we speak to Rich, he always has a built-in out.
The out is always I have to go get some food, grocery shopping, Chinese food.
Or if he's at work,
What's I don't
I
know.
got to jump.
a
I have a
conference,
conference
call.
Right.
You have more conference calls than any. So we need to address this once and for all. I mean, are you just being polite because you don't want us to feel bad that you have to get off the phone, or do you truly have these things to do?
You eat a lot of Chinese food.
Yeah. How much Chinese food do you eat?
I kind of remember Hartsdale Gardens. You didn't eat much Chinese food.
It's a finale, Rich. You could tell us.
No, I would say 75% of the time it's truthful.
That's it. I think we've peaked. That's
Yeah.
it. You want to hear something funny though? I want to come back to this,
Please.
but
Please.
so I work in law school admissions, and as I've said on the show over the years, it's shocking and disappointing to me how similar it is to working retail in terms of the dumb questions that you get and all of that. I was on the phone with a prospective student just the other day, and she had me for a while.
You needed an exit.
She kept going, and it got to the point where I was answering her questions, but
You know what?
there was this long stretch where she was just like reading me the list of courses that we offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the point where I'm like, what? Like, I
need
don't
an
know
out.
what I can do for you. And I said, hey, well, I didn't say hey, but I said, I hate to do this. I said, I hate to do this. I have a conference call in 2 minutes. Is there anything specific that I can answer? And I got to tell you, Rich, I'm going to do that all the time now. It's because you know what it is? You can't argue with it. It's a conference call.
And
It's
if you're
happening.
hungry, you're hungry. All right, you got to go.
So you say about 75%?
75% of the time it's truthful. I've spent the whole afternoon on calls.
Yeah, you got to go.
Now I got to get some dinner.
While we're on you here, I have another question, but also something to offer. So, you guys all were extremely generous in your support of the My Comic Shop Country Kickstarter campaign, financially and in terms of emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. So today you'll be getting your final reward. Makes it sound like we're dying.
It's a trap.
What's your last meal?
Hey, where are we going for lunch after? We should have done lunch first.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was his idea.
I'm glad we did this. It's better to do the episode for. I wouldn't be able to enjoy the lunch. All right. So you guys are getting your My Comic Shop Country Blu-ray today.
That looks incredible.
They came at the homemade
Really?
Homemade.
Where'd you print that out?
at work. Right before my conference call. Anyway. So you guys, you're all getting Blu-rays. Now, here's where it gets a little dicey.
Sure.
Rich Roney. We've discussed this on the show before.
I'm wearing my Mark Waid stocking clothes today.
You are. So quick backstory. Mark Waid is in the documentary. You've met Mark Waid, comic book creator, at numerous comic conventions, almost always wearing the same uniform, essentially. So anyway, we've established this before on the show. Years ago, you inherited a flat screen television from your mother, and a number of us at Alternate Realities, years ago now, pooled together. This is when Blu-ray players were expensive. We pooled together, and we got you a Blu-ray player for either your birthday or Christmas.
Are we going to talk about whole eras of technology that I've missed?
No, not exactly. Because here's my dilemma. And this is, Bill, you're going to help me with this.
Okay.
So I have a Blu-ray for
Wait
you.
till this Sunday's call.
Exactly. We're going to really unpackage this.
So I have a Blu-ray for you, Rich, right? But because you're one of my best friends,
Oh, you went deep on the DVD.
you got to talk into the mic.
You went deep on the DVD.
I also made you a DVD. I made one DVD for
you
you. But now, don't thank me yet, because here's my dilemma. Do I not give him the DVD and thus force him to finally plug in his television and
you plugged
connect
it
the
in?
Blu-ray player? What do I do? I don't know what to do.
I think you should give Rich the DVD.
You think I should give Rich
Yeah.
the DVD? What
Yeah,
do you think?
he's never gonna take the Blu-ray out of the box.
But Mark Waid is in this movie.
he's never.
Rich is also
he's
in the
never
movie.
He's
What?
never going to.
Don't you have a Betamax at home that's still in the box, Steve?
Well, no, it's not in the box. But I kept it in case it comes back.
Yeah. Never mind.
No, I have a lot of Japanese stuff on beta. That's why I have to keep the Betamax.
But Rich, let me ask, if I only gave you the Blu-ray, would it just never get watched?
Oh, it would be watched.
Where?
Maybe not in the near future.
But you think eventually you would plug it in?
Probably by the time I'm 80. Yeah.
Don't trust them. I mean, don't believe it.
I'll
It's
give you
not
the
gonna happen.
DVD.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. It's like Rich going to the doctor for a checkup.
So you
It's
have the
never
DVD
gonna happen.
You have the DVD player hooked up?
Yes.
Yes.
You could just take it out and plug in right where it,
That would require effort.
But
it wouldn't take much.
His DVD player is connected to the Rabbit Ears television that he got from the car rental company in the early 90s. I don't
I don't know the
can't-
story.
His memory is spot on.
I don't know that story.
He doesn't have cable or internet at home. The only reason he's watching all these black and white westerns from the 50s is because it's the only channel he gets with the rabbit ears.
So, Bill, this next secret is for you to share. It pertains to Rich, but I want you to lay this out. Do you remember? We didn't talk about this ahead of time,
Okay.
but do you remember a plot that we hatched with Drew Cheskin a year or two ago?
I do.
We didn't fulfill
do.
it,
I know
and
this
since
exactly
we
where you're going.
didn't do it, and I don't see it happening in the near future, and it's the finale, I think we got to say
Rich,
it.
this would have been the greatest thing ever. We were going to call you up. Rich, let's meet you at a comic book shop in New Jersey, right?
And then you'll be in my driveway.
We're all going to go take a photo outside your house.
Which, by the way, no one has ever seen
Nobody's
Rich's
ever been.
place.
Right. We were all joking like, hey, your wife is going to come out. It's like, who are you people? So to preface it, we know nothing really about your personal life. You're the most mysterious man alive.
Yeah. Rich. My husband's named Frank.
You got like 3 kids.
Matt Life. What are you talking about?
Oh man, that was
Yeah.
that cracked me up the first time when we thought about it.
And we were just, I think, for Christmas, we were going
We were
to
going to
give
give it to you. The present was the picture of all of us, and we're standing in front of your house.
I think we legitimately, though, had a question of, like, how would he take this?
Right. We didn't know if you would just explode.
Because part of me feels like he would just, like, turn around and walk away. Like, we'd never see you again.
Yeah, I'd have to think that through.
75%. Would just walk away.
So while we're talking, while Sko is checking his phone, it's all right. It's all right. So Rich, this is a question for you. You've been friends with Oto for over 40 years. You met in high school. We've told this story before, but this is the first time you've been on the podcast together.
Close to 50 years.
Close to 50
48
years.
years. 48 years.
Well, our 45th reunion is October, right?
You still trying to hook
But
Rich
that was
up with
when
your
you
classmates?
graduated.
Yeah, so
You had 3 years
you
to
say,
that.
oh yeah, right. Oh, you know, my math isn't so good anymore. What is
Yeah,
it?
we were talking this past Sunday before I called Bill. Steve and I were.
Dates. Remember, you can't talk about dates.
I'm not giving the exact.
No, that's okay.
All I want to say is someone has a tremendously unique sense of how many days are in a week.
I made a little mistake.
All right.
Okay.
But so you guys met in high school. We've told this story before. This is part
The
of
cigarette story.
This is AR legend.
But
Do you
I
guys
just-
want to tell it, or should we act it out?
It's not a. But that story's been told. It's not a secret, is it?
No, I'm getting
People-
to this. I'm getting.
Oh,
I want to.
okay.
What I want to ask Rich is, what is the secret to maintaining a friendship with Steve Oto for close to 50 years? You're the only one who's done it.
That's not true.
No,
The only one.
I'm in touch with a lot of people from high school.
It's true.
Rich is the only one who denies even going to our high school.
Steve has a very active social life on Facebook.
that's true. But you don't. It's not the same level of
The only
friendship
one
as
we
you have
know.
with Rich, right? Rich is your best friend.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like I've cut out everybody that I knew 45, 50 years ago.
That's true. All right,
You
fair
know,
enough.
I think Rich is
Where,
who
with the exception
aside-
of you, I have.
Yeah, you have. I mean, your brothers are lucky to still stay in touch with you.
But Rich, what is the secret? I mean, so you're not the only one who has this lengthy friendship with him, but amongst our group, you are. What is the secret to maintaining that?
Not smoking.
That's the story, right? That's what you want to work out with.
1970s, White Plains High School.
Yes.
Bill, you're Steve Oto.
Okay.
You play violin. You're on yearbook. You're super studious, right?
That's right.
I come up to you in science class, right? I extend my hand in friendship. I say, hey, I am Rich Roney. I just moved here from Chicago. I don't have any friends. It's really nice to meet you.
Do you smoke?
And that
No,
was
that's
it.
not, I said, you don't smoke, do you? And he was, oh no. And that's the what is one of those
Right.
points in linear time, right?
Right, but Steve, he does smoke, right?
Oh, he learned to. But it was too late by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geez, I'd
One
love
of their
a-
classmates showed him the ropes, taught him how to smoke and drink. It was like a whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, I'd love a lucky strike right now.
Oh my gosh.
The running joke has been that
I know, I should have said, "You got a
should have
light?"
said, yeah. But think about how different
No,
things
I
would have
should
been.
have said no, only unfiltered.
No, he was going to say, got a light?
No,
But
the thoughts cascading through my mind right then were, how desperate am I for a friend?
I just think this poor guy,
I should have spoke to the guy on my left.
this poor kid just moved here from out of
Yeah.
town, didn't know anybody, was just trying to reach out.
This is when you moved from Chicago?
Yes, yeah. It was an awkward summer because we moved during the summer, so I was anxious about starting high school. And fortunately, the hand of friendship was Steve that reached out to me. But there was a litmus test, you know. Fortunately, I answered correctly, and that's why all of us are here today.
it's a great turning point in history.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, imagine if you had looked to your left instead of to your right in that
Imagine
moment.
if I had a different class, we might not be here.
Yeah, it's amazing how things work out. So thank you for indulging me as we've shared some of these secrets.
And kudos to you guys. You got it beat for beat correctly.
Well, we've heard it a lot. We love it.
Yeah. But Steve and I haven't said it.
I also put the call out for audience questions. I said, "Was there anything? What do you want to know about this podcast that you don't know that we can address in the finale?" You only got a couple bites, but they're good ones. So, one of our listeners asked if anyone ever refused to be a guest on the podcast, and one, as far as I can remember, and someone you guys know, Dan Gallo.
Really?
Yeah, art dealer. I reached out to him about, no, I'm not putting him on blast. Nobody has to do the podcast. That's quite all right. He was nice about it. But I reached out to him to be in the convention season because he's, this big time art dealer. He's at all these conventions. He has his table at New York Comic Con. So I reached out to him and he was like, oh, can I think about it? And I was basically like, not really, because I'm recording. I was like, he's like, can I have the weekend? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And then he just wrote back and he was like, thanks for thinking of me, but I'm going to pass. And I was
he
like,
lives down the
right
street,
on.
right?
Yeah, that's
In the
one of the
city
reasons
center.
why I was
Yeah.
like, this is going to be perfect.
right
He lives
here.
right here. It's great. So he wasn't interested in participating. He was very nice about it. Ben Lichtenstein from Zap, he's been on the show now 5 times, but he needed a little convincing. He's very protective of his business and what he's built, understandably so. So, we had a little email back and forth where I explained a little bit more about what I was trying to get out of the episode, and we did it. And then, again, he's come back multiple times. But yeah, he was a little reluctant at first. Yeah. I know you're a big fan of Ben. Rich.
I am. I think I encouraged you to reach out to him.
You did many times.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah, his podcast, as Steve, as you pointed out, his knowledge of the business and the fact that he constantly evolves, I'm very impressed with that. He's just,
Yeah, I look forward to listening to those.
he really knows the business, and he's survived.
And other than that, there have only been instances where I haven't gotten a response, or I got a response and we went back and forth and then radio silence. So that happened a few times with one cosplayer, with a couple of stores. Like when I went out to Palm Desert, there were 3 stores in the Palm Desert, Palm Springs area. And I reached out to all of them, and 2 got back to me and were on the podcast, and the other one I just never heard from. So, so it goes. But generally speaking, no, it's been great. People are usually happy and excited, to be on the show, which is great. So we really haven't had many instances of anyone refusing. Another listener and former guest, Lord Retail from Acme Comics, he asked about deleted footage, not footage, but deleted audio content, like how much of these episodes get cut. And that depends. My goal is always to edit as little as possible, but I would say probably the first and third seasons had the most cut footage because the first season we were all talking about alternate reality, so there was a lot of overlap. And then similarly with season 3 of all of these retailers all talking about delinquent customers and how hard it is to order comics and all of that. So where things started to get repetitive, that's where we would cut a little bit. But there's some episodes, and hopefully you can't tell the difference, but there's some episodes where I really don't cut at all. Others where it's like a targeted strike where I just know I'm going to go in and take out a little piece. And other episodes where I do a full edit.
I thought you had to really edit the Jay Mizell one time. So much so you had to add in
I brought in Metalhead.
Really? To do the technical stuff?
No, he brought him to like fill in the full hour.
So then season 1, I recorded like an hour and a half with Jay Mizell, former flea market vendor and our favorite curmudgeon. And he was like, I don't know. I thought he would be able to wrap his head around what we were doing because he comes from the radio era. And I was like, just like a radio show. But he couldn't really wrap his head around like, oh, it's a podcast. And he was a little difficult as a guest. Like he would not stay on the microphone, and he was like holding his water over the equipment. Like, it was a little
The
challenging.
only two things I vividly remember is Jay starts pointing at pictures.
Yeah.
Anthony goes, look, they can only hear us. They can't see what you're pointing at. And then like 2 seconds later, I hear Anthony go, hey, will we not move the bottle of water over the electronics?
So what I ended up doing was I put together a supercut of me getting frustrated by him. I did that in season 2 with San Gregorio. Remember, Rich, when we did the New Frontier book club episode?
Oh, yeah.
And San Gregorio drove me nuts. He was like flipping through the books. He was picking at his shirt. I don't know what he was doing. I was like, what are you doing? So I have a whole sequence of me. People love it when I get annoyed.
To your credit, you take that and you turn it into gold.
You got to do something with it. But so with that Jay episode, I put together the supercut, and then I brought in, I hope he didn't feel like an afterthought, but I brought in Metalhead. And he rounded that out.
And wasn't Doug part of that?
Doug was there for the J piece of it, yeah.
And Doug's experience in radio probably helped, I would imagine.
As much as it could, I guess. But as far as like deleted stuff, so with Steve, with you, I often have some deleted footage.
Because I talk a lot.
You do. So, and people don't know this, the pilot episode, the series premiere of My Comic Shop History was actually take 2. So you and I recorded episode 1 at Alternate Realities, and it didn't work for 2 reasons. One, this is on me. I didn't have you close enough to the microphone. This was like the first time I was doing this. Mm-hmm. You were audible, but you weren't where I needed you to be. And we also ended up with like a 3.5 hour recording. And so you were very gracious, though. I was like, do you mind if we redo this? Because it's the series premiere. Like, we gotta nail this. And so we did it again. But for that one, I remember I brought my iPad and I put the timer on.
Yeah.
And whenever he was like talking for like 2 or 3 minutes in a row, I would like point to the iPad. I'm like, all right, we got to wrap it up. And that helped keep us on track a little bit more.
I feel like there was an episode with me, too, that the audio didn't work.
Yeah, there was another lost episode. Again, that was on me. That was, again, very early days of the podcast and still working out the technical side of it. But yeah, you were in town. This was, because I guess you made a visit. Obviously, you came back later for the move out, but you had been there in town previously, and we tried to record something. But as you always say, Sco, everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
When we sat down for that finale, the 3 of us, that was a powerful recording.
I thought that was a great performance for all of us.
Not even it was so genuine. The emotion.
Absolutely.
How much of it do you remember, Steve?
I don't remember.
You were crying.
Listen,
It was really
listened
good.
to it.
I listened to it multiple times.
Oh.
It was so touching and so heartwarming. It was just so powerfully emotional. But if we are kind of coming up on the 4-year anniversary of the work effort of all you guys to, I know we're not going to dwell on the past, so this is going to be 10 seconds, but that was a very powerful podcast.
Yeah. No, on that note, because, ahead of this, Rich, you had said to me, you were like, I talked to Steve, and he was like, I don't know what this podcast is about. And I told him, I was like, well, I think we're just going to be reminiscing. And I said to Rich, I'm like, not really, because we've done that a lot. But I want to say 2 things. The first is, I think there's comfort in, all of these stories that we tell and that we tell over and over. And we do this on mic and off mic. And, these stories, they become routine, but there's a comfort there. And it's the AR lore. I know what I'm talking about,
Absolutely.
Right? And then the other thing on this, because it's not like we can't look back at all. And there's actually something that I've been thinking about. We addressed this in season 1, but I want to bring it back and maybe unpack it a little bit. Steve, you talked about how like everyone, even prior to the store closing, even more so now, but especially, leading up to that, people were moving on with their lives. And I know from my own experience, and I mentioned this in the first season, but I'll lay it out a little bit more. I was not as regular a presence at Alternate Realities in the last couple of years. And that was a function of a few things. My interest in comics was probably at an all-time low. This was DC New 52 era. I wasn't there every week to get my comics. On top of that, I was just starting to date Steph. I was working full-time. I moved from Hartsdale to White Plains, which was only one town over, but all of a sudden going to the comic shop was no longer like a quick 5-minute trip. It was now 15, 20 minutes. so and plus I think the vibe at the store was a little bit different in the last couple of years. It was just you and Steve Ryan. We love you both, but I think the atmosphere, it wasn't like that whole like crew of people necessarily. So I know for myself, like I was not in there as often. Bill, you had obviously moved away to New
absolutely.
Mexico. Rich, you always had that distance to contend with, but there were times where you would come in every Saturday, and I think that decreased over time.
Yeah,
Right. And a lot of other people, and we've talked about this, people got married and moved and started new jobs and had kids and all of that. But I think, so we always talk about how important it was to have that place to go. But I think there's this other element to it that's so powerful. And it was such a gift that we had that place when we needed it. And it got to the point where maybe we didn't need it as much. And, and maybe we weren't around as much at that point. Certainly I wasn't. But for that period of time when we really needed it, it was there. And not like we came from like horrible broken homes and we would have been out on the street. But, again, like I didn't have people who shared my passion. And, it's not like I was, I had all these relationships or anything like that. It's like my main thing was like I went to the comic shop. And so what a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you. You provided that place for us when we needed it. And I think that's such an important part of this.
Yeah, I guess from my point of view, because I was there all the time, I could see the changes already. Like Brian O'Day stopped smoking and suddenly started martial arts and lost interest in comics. Roby disappeared, and he was there almost every day. So it was really no surprise to me that the faces changed. Even like people like Cara, it's like she used to. Well, she didn't come in a lot, but you'd see her a lot, and then all of a sudden we didn't see these people again. In fact, I think from the first documentary movie, all the people who you interviewed, well, not all of them, but a great number of the people you interviewed and said, "Oh, this is such an important place to me, and I love this place," and then all of a sudden they disappeared. So I guess Rich and I have talked about this in the past, I guess because we're older and we've been through the experience of going to college with these people and you're friends with them, or you go to work and you have lunch with them every day, and then you leave to a different place, you never see these people anymore. And life goes on that way. That's why I've always maintained that, when the store closed and you guys were all sitting saying, well, we'll still get together for dinner every other week or every third week or something. Rich will come into town and we'll all get together. It came to a point where the gatherings would only happen when Rich came from Jersey. That's like an hour and a half drive.
Yes.
Yeah, one way, right? I mean, but it didn't surprise me that suddenly, people, they're getting married, they're having kids, they have their own problems to work out with work or home ownership or whatever it is. And I guess, Rich and I have seen this for decades. So there was no surprise to us. I think it was more of a shock for you young guys that life works out this way.
Actually, Steve, you've seen more of it than me because you know what happened to our high school class. I don't.
The high school class still talks about Rich Roney.
What do they say about him?
It's a legend. I assume.
He was what a great guy. I'd love to see him again. Give regards and all that. And he's like, I don't even remember who these people are.
Yeah, Rich has for years maintained he has no interest in going to any of these reunions. He doesn't want to be set up. You've tried to set him up, right?
Oh, more times than I can count.
Even in high school and now, correct?
I'm never going to stop.
It's never stopped. It's never stopped.
You have any prospects right now?
She just moved to Japan.
Oh, I heard about this girl.
Yeah.
She was very smart, very nice.
What's wrong with her, Rich?
I never met her.
Oh.
But what about like when you were in high school?
Steve told me, like, hey,
She's already gone, but she would have been perfect.
he told me like March 28th, but April 30th, she's out of here. So you got a month.
But what about when you were in high school and Steve would try to set you up? Did anything ever work out? Were you open to it, or was it just the idea of being set up, or being set up by Steve? Like what was it that was like so antithetical to you that you're like, I can't?
How much time do we have today?
Listen, man.
Anytime.
We just got to get to lunch after this, but.
No, Steve always tried to set me up.
I never really
Steve
picked you as the
ultimate
matchmaker.
With people he liked. It wasn't like this
Didn't
is
you
the
like-
worst human being I've ever met, but perfect for Rich.
So these were people like you saw, like he would interact with them in high school.
Yeah.
Didn't you send flowers to women on his behalf?
No, I didn't do it.
Oh, you were going to though, right?
I
Yeah,
threatened
which-
to do so.
Threatened. That's right.
But it wasn't so much a threat as a test to see if I could do it.
He was trying to put that idea in your head.
Well, no, I figured if I could send the book of poetry with some nice inscription or something, or send the flowers and have his name on it, that they would respond positively. And they would have.
I was always so terrified when I would come home from a business trip because I didn't know what he might have done while I was away.
Some woman waiting at your doorstep in tears. Where have you been?
Wedding gowns. Six of them sitting outside the steps in wedding gowns.
Yeah. Let's just say Steve's initiative made me a little anxious.
It could be scary at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He tried.
It could-
You
I
can't
could-
follow someone.
I am but the puppet. He's the puppeteer.
I think it's a night. He cared so much. He wanted you to, have that companionship. It's nice.
That's one way of looking at it. I think it was more it filled a void for Steve.
Oh, interesting.
No. No, the last one, Kumi, she was great.
This girl that he had a month to pursue.
Well, no, anyway, it's again, we're not talking about like matching. When
You do know I never met her.
yeah, but
she's probably perfect.
She was willing to meet you.
I have a question, Steve. Like when you would, I know you said in high school these were people you saw Rich interacting with, but more so now when you're like, oh, she'd be great for you. What criteria are you basing that on?
Usually intelligence and personality. The fact that most of them are financially independent is also a good thing. So it's
Yeah. See, he's not sending women after you who's just gonna be after your money.
Right.
So I'm in alignment with his criteria and the attributes. Yeah, I think that's all good.
Yeah. Speaking of Oto as the romantic, I feel like the story got told, but again, we have you both together, and it's one of my favorites. The story about when Rich, you went to visit Steve at Yale, and Steve was dealing with some heartbreak.
Which one?
You just wanted to watch Kelly's Heroes.
Oh.
That was all you wanted. This poor guy just wanted to watch this movie. But what happened?
Unfortunately, there was a girl that Steve liked. She broke up with him like 20 minutes before the movie started. We were down in one of the
No
basements.
time to watch a movie.
And some of Steve's friends, Dick was there, a whole bunch of guys. They bought like two pizzas and a case of beer. We were going to watch Kelly's Heroes. And he comes walking down, and his eyes are watering like crazy. And he goes, oh, she just broke up with me. And he decided to go into another room, and he was so angry, he thought he'd be like the Hulk. He'd bench press like 450 pounds.
We had a what do you call Universal downstairs.
Right. And you felt like you had so much adrenaline.
I could do that.
You could do it.
I could.
How close did you get?
I don't know.
I came and watched him because I was terrified he'd break his neck, and
Right.
we'd find him the next morning, and it would really ruin the movie. So I just sat up with him. We talked till like 3 or 4 in the morning.
I bought you a copy of the movie.
You did. Yes, you did. You did.
I felt so bad.
He bought me a DVD. It was when Blockbuster was going out of business.
50
Don't
cents.
try to take away from it. It was the thought that counts.
No,
That's
it
actually
was like a
wonderful.
Hollywood Video in Arizona or something. So
That's
they were going
beautiful.
out of business and said, "Hey, look, I think this is like one of the worst movies ever made, but let's get it for Rich."
He might have saved your life. I mean, like how, again, like was he on the bench? Was he like literally ready to unrack? Or was it more he was just like walking toward? Like, I'm just curious how close this actually got.
Can I, on a side?
Yeah.
When you bench, how much can you bench?
We don't reveal that. That's not one of the
So one
finale
of the reasons
secrets.
he doesn't want to have pictures or videos. He doesn't want anybody to know how jacked he is.
These are a trademark secret.
Oh, okay.
In the two, I don't bench 300 pounds. We're in the 200s.
Okay, I was only trying to bench my own weight. Could do it.
At that time, it was what?
You were 400 pounds. Rich said you were going for 400 pounds.
You told me you felt you had such rage and such adrenaline, you could bench press like 450 pounds, and that would help like work off your
Let me ask you a serious
annoyance.
question. Were you wearing the Yale shorts at that time?
I always wear
Oh, man.
Oh,
I
those
love it.
shorts. He wore those at the store, right?
Yeah, of course he did.
Those shorts.
Those are shorts. I don't know. Again, you young guys, when you wear shorts, they're actually longs because they go down to your knee, right? They go below your knee.
Yeah, listen,
I
you're
don't know
luck-
why you can call them shorts. Shorts were like right to the hip.
You're lucky.
You know
no-
what's amazing? This is the most
rang up
animated he's
customers
getting in the whole conversation.
I still have a pair. You can't buy those anymore.
He fought them out.
It's 40 years old.
You're lucky no parents ever complained.
Yeah.
I used to wear them at the store.
I know.
I had
It was a little thrill for some of the mothers that would come in.
Sure.
That's how he kept the store going those early years. Speaking of the early, I had Prem on the show earlier this season,
Uh-huh.
and there were I had put the call out in our Facebook group for like stories about Prem, and a few
Oh.
people delivered.
I thought of one on the way over here.
Oh, all right.
Sorry.
I guess you could share it now, I suppose. But we're we're kind of done talking about Prem. No, but it was nice to finally sit down with the man. And we talked about his experiences. He talked about the eBay years. He talked about the Pokemon years. He talked about being, shy, but having this keen business sense. He went on to NYU. It was very interesting. There were a few things he didn't remember. One, apparently, allegedly, you assaulted him in the back room. Steve, do you know what this was about?
I think something happened where I guess I was chasing him around the store. I remember kicking him in the shins, but I was wearing those micro boots.
Oh.
And they just collapsed.
It really happened, huh?
Yeah. I don't remember what it was
I
about.
don't know that.
Yeah. All right. Well,
There's a lot of running around the store trying to kill each other.
Right. But wait, take me back to Yale. So again, we can't pinpoint exactly how close he got, but you might have saved his life. If it were 450, you probably wouldn't have been able to get it off the rack, in all honesty. But if you had enough adrenaline to at least do that, you could have crushed yourself.
So it was a universal. It wasn't a free weight. So it was a
story.
That takes away a little bit from the story.
Sorry.
See, this is the kind of thing, though, I feel like when we tell this story, it's we'll leave that part out, right? These were free weights. Oto was going to crush himself, and Rich Roney swooped in, sacrificed it.
Picked it up, and got it off my chest.
All night. Yes. It was a great story that way.
Yeah.
I remember you walking away, and you were so disillusioned and so.
That's funny because I really don't remember that night very well at all.
How much of a dilemma was it for you, Rich? Because you came, you wanted to watch the movie, but obviously as one of your best friends, you came to visit him. How much of a dilemma was it?
It was no dilemma at all. His safety and my concern for him was paramount.
People need to recognize, though, this was a different era. It's not like you could have just paused this or watched it whenever you wanted. Like, you missed it. It was decades before you finally saw this movie.
Did you like the movie when you saw it?
Parts of it, yes.
All right, let's live up to the title of this episode, My Comic Shop Future. This is the point, Bill, where people expect me to say, I'm going to bring back alternate realities. That's what I think they think is going to happen.
When you took out that sign...
What are you talking about? No spoilers.
Avengers Endgame. You know how it ends?
Yeah. I think we know the edit points now.
No, that can stay in. We play with this idea in the new documentary. We'll leave it at that. But this is something that I get asked. I probably get asked if I'm going to bring back the store more than you do at this point.
Yeah, everybody knows I'm not going to do it.
Right. So this is not something that I have immediate plans to do. So we'll start with that. I don't want anyone to get their hopes up. Oh, the store's coming back. But I mean, I'd be lying if I said I never thought about it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the sort of thing, though, that there are a lot of factors that I think would need to line up for me to even really consider it. One is I wouldn't want to walk this road alone. Like, at this point, I don't have the passion for comics, I think, to like really do it properly. So I would need the right person. And then just even separate from that, like, I don't know, Bill, like if you moved back to New York and you were like, Anthony, we got to do
Let's do this.
That would make me think about it. Mm-hmm. Would you think about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With you, though.
Yes.
But like, not with this guy.
No. Well, all right. So this is an interesting question. This is something that I do want to talk about. But before we get to that, one of the things that would concern me is I wouldn't want to tarnish the legacy. Like if we did it and it failed in a year, I don't know, then Alternate Realities has this asterisk next to it. It was in operation from 92 to 2015 and then for 2020.
6 months. Yeah.
You know, that would hurt me because I love the store so much, as do you. I mean, would that be a concern? Like what? Or would you be like, well, it's better than nothing. Like 6 months of AR 2.0 is better than nothing.
I don't think it would fail.
You know, well, all right. Steve, would you have any concern? Would you feel like, well, like don't mess it up? Like this is my legacy.
No, not at all. If you guys decided we'll start the store, and if you want to still call it Alternate Realities, it's like okay, I will give you everything in the warehouse.
It's amazing that it's all there still.
It's not all there. I've sold a lot.
Yeah.
You just can't tell because there's so much.
Yeah. It's like a cup of water out of the ocean.
Yeah, pretty much. I probably sold a couple of thousand different items.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
So it's like
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not trying to.
But if you
that
want
wasn't
it,
a veiled comment.
if you want it, it's there. I can still supply you with a ton of stuff. And my only advice would be maybe you don't want to do new comics because there's just too much stuff. Maybe you want to specialize in older books to be the only place that carries older books. I mean, obviously, you know, we helped get rid of all of Jay's stuff. So the fact that some of that stuff is out there to be acquired, you know, Ben does it all the time.
Yeah.
Again, everybody carries the new books. and the market will flood you with that. You'll drown with all the different titles and different variants. But if you say, we just carry a run of bronze and silver, the older books, people will come to you specifically for that because they can't go everywhere to get that. The vintage toys. And not necessarily, you don't have to get the stuff from the 50s and the 60s. If you have 70s and 80s and 90s. I mean, 90s. I mean, that's 30 years old already.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that is and very gracious and generous of you to to offer us that. And I think, I mean, to your point, Bill, like there are a lot of factors, right, that go into whether or not a store succeeds. I feel like through the experience that we had at Alternate Realities, and then I've gotten to see and talk to a lot of stores. I feel like we would be coming at it from a position of strength. I think we would have some insight behind what we were doing, but what I want to kind of explore a little bit is what are the ingredients that would need to be present for it to be Alternate Realities? Because
Jeff Wong.
I had Sandro Prosperino on the show in the previous episode, My Comic Shop Present, and we talked about how after AR closed, we each went to a bunch of the different stores in Westchester, and nothing, and this was not a knock on those stores, but nothing really filled the void for us. Like nothing became part of our routines the way AR was. And Sandro was just like, it's Steve. Like it just always comes back to Steve. So I don't know, is it the sort of thing, if Steve's not there, is it not Alternate Realities?
I think it would be very hard to do Alternate Realities without Steve.
But what amount of Steve? Because
I'll come in on Wednesdays and sit there.
You'd be like Jay myself.
But that's what I'm saying.
I'll do an hour routine, then come back at 9 and I'll do a second show. And then
You work for tips.
But that's the thing. It's like with that amount of Steve, if Steve became the new Jay Mizell, he came in once or twice a week, had lunch, held court. Is that enough element of Steve for it to be Alternate Realities? Or is it? Or does Steve need to be the guy behind the counter always? I don't know. I want to know what you think.
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know if you can quite capture what Alternate Realities was ever again. Like you said earlier, this podcast, that it was the right time in all of our lives at that moment, and we can never go back there. All we can do is facilitate that for a next generation of people, and hope that they become what we became, or got out of our store what we got out of Steve's store. So all we can really do is provide that environment, I think. So create the environment and hope that lightning strikes twice.
I feel like there's a degree of legitimacy, though, that like if you and I did it, and with some of the other inner circle, there's a degree of legitimacy we bring by virtue of the fact that we were part of it, as opposed to like, just somebody saying like, oh, I'm going to use the name.
Right.
So there's that. What do you think, Rich? How much Steve do we need?
I definitely think you guys
Cut off his arm. Just bring it.
Yeah.
Put it by the door. Yeah, just like mummified Steve's arm.
I guess we're back in the visuals. I think, to your point, the fact that you guys are the inheritors and the legacy would just add so much validity to it. I do think Steve holding court on Wednesdays would be the sizzle to the steak.
Can you eat roast beef sandwiches? What? Like Jake would come in and eat roast beef sandwiches.
No, he's got to stay true to his slot plates. I miss those slot plates, man.
Yeah, but I can't do that anymore.
But if Steve held court on Wednesdays, that would be the sizzle to the steak. I mean, the spotlight on him. You don't even have to get him going. He's got an opinion on everything.
Didn't they do an alternate reality stay at Aya Comics?
Yes.
That was pretty well.
Spend an afternoon with Steve Oto.
How'd that go?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Old faces showed up. And they want to do it again. And I said,
Mark was like, how do I get these alternate realities people to start shopping here? He's like, well, bring in Oto for the day.
Yeah, and it worked.
Yeah, people came.
People love you, Steve.
They sure do. People love when you're on the show. They love it. They can't get enough.
They want to know your middle name.
And now they're going to stop tuning in.
They're like, oh, I don't like that name.
Now I know everything.
Listen, you joke, but I remember when you were on the season 3 finale. You did.
Do you remember? There was a season 3?
You did a little so the season 3 finale was primarily Spider's Web, but I brought you in for a little cameo towards the end, and we talked about my journey to all these comic shops. And I said to you that we're not going to reveal your name, your middle name. I said that's something we have to save for the series finale. I had one of my listeners reach out to me. He's like, I was so disappointed. He's like, I kept waiting for you to reveal the name, and you didn't. It was the finale. And I wrote back. I said, listen, I said series finale. This was a season finale.
That's right.
So there was someone who was clamoring for that name.
Dangling that carrot.
Now that he's finally going to hear it, it's like, that was
fine.
it?
It's the end. It's fine.
It's fine. But so, all right, so we feel like we would need Oto present to some extent, right? Obviously, it would have the name alternate realities. Do we modify the name, or it's purely alternate realities?
I would modify the
AR
name.
Reborn? No, we don't do that. No. All right.
2.0? It would
maybe
actually be
2.0.
like 10.0 or something, no?
Well, you're counting all the different iterations of ownership, but I
Yeah.
feel like there's a clear line in the sand between 92 to 2015 and anything that we would do now. So there's that. Location-wise, that spot is taken.
Plenty of free parking.
Hey, it's
But
a
that's
all-
STEAM school.
Yeah,
I saw it yesterday.
yeah. It's an after-school learning center.
I loved it.
So
And it always was an after
That's
school
right.
program.
Yes.
No.
For 23 years it was.
one of us has said that to him multiple times. He forgets, so he reacts the same way every time. He loves it. Can't get enough. But so it couldn't be the same location, but I think we would probably try to replicate the same type of thing, right? Like Central Avenue is a main artery, parking, right? What about the aesthetic of the store? Like how much of it would we need to replicate for it to feel like alternate realities?
Well, we have the back issue bins, 3 of them at least.
Yeah. But do
You
like
got
we
the
get
shelves?
Yeah.
We
it's
have
true.
what shelves? Oh yeah,
The borders,
the bookshelves.
bookshelves.
Oh, the bookcases.
Yeah, we
yes.
can easily replicate certain elements of that store.
I think what he's hinting at is you don't want it to be all sloppy looking.
Well, no, not
No, I
necessarily.
like that look. I
Yeah.
walk into comic shops, I look for that. I don't look
Yeah.
for the clean comic shop.
Diamond boxes all over the floor.
Yeah, I
in the
really do.
corners.
So there's right. So that's kind of my question, because that was part of the flavor of alternate realities. Now, do I think there need to be as many boxes that say "Don't touch, dumbass"? Probably
The
not.
best is when you would open them up and there was a secondary sign in there.
Yeah. So like,
This means you,
This means
dumbass. I told you not to get in here.
It's because I knew the customers so well.
And see, and for the record, Steve, I don't want you to feel like, as we talk about this, it's like, oh, like they would do it so differently than I did. There was so much that you did. You cultivated this.
No, don't do it differently than I did.
No.
You got to be successful. Don't worry about trying to keep the museum going.
No, I know. No, all right, I'll get to that part. So, no, but the thing is, you carried a diverse line of products. You met the customer's needs in terms of pulling their books. With, occasionally something would be missed, but for the most part, you did a great job with that. You cultivated these relationships with people without trying. And that, I think, really says a lot. And this is not to put down any other store, but stores are very conscious about doing that. It just happened and it was natural. And that says a lot about you as a person. So things like that, I think, are absolutely worth replicating. The things that I maybe Bill too would maybe do differently, again, the product turnover, flipping things faster, putting collections out in a quicker.
Sounds
things
like what
that.
Ben does.
That's Ben.
Yes.
Yeah, Ben from Zap. That's what he does,
Right.
and that's why he's successful.
Exactly. And I think too, you got to the point where, this is something I've seen at other stores, and there is value in this, in reading the material and being able to speak about it. And I know you got to the point, it was a function of time and, I think lack of interest probably towards the end, where you weren't able to do that. And that's why I think, even if it's not you and me personally,
Right.
but you bring in a Sean Hendricks, who steal him from Fat Moose. We could get him. You bring him in, right? And all of a sudden he's reading everything. He's
Yeah.
making those connections with people. So I think it'd
So
be like
Brandon, former owner, used to encourage that. So
He would give you the
he
comics
would
to
give
read.
us the books for free as long as we would talk to the customers about them.
Right.
And that was part of how we sold the books.
So those are, I think, some of the things that could be done to just sort of like supercharge
Right.
what AR was. We'd have a podcasting studio space. It'd be amazing. We'd record episodes.
Oh,
We'd
that
bring
would
in
be so cool.
creators. It'd be great. We'd love it.
Have store signings.
Yeah.
We wouldn't turn them away.
The Ethan Van Sciver.
Yeah. I have to,
It was
I
a good.
can't- I
In
can't-
hindsight,
You
great.
did the right
You
thing.
did the right
I
thing.
have to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
but-
did the right thing. I have to amend, because in the past I was like, "How do you turn this guy away?"
Yeah.
Free like this, not free
Turns
comic
out
book
he
day
was not the
Wednesday.
greatest.
It was
Free
a
comic book
Wednesday
day.
just before
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
And he was like, "You did Green Lantern Rebirth. Like, how do you turn this guy away?" As we've come to see, I think you made the right call. So good job.
Yeah.
But I think those are some of the things, right? So the podcasting space is something. What would you want? Like, what would you be like? We got to have this in there.
Well, I didn't even think about the podcasting space. That was incredible. I used to run the Magic tournaments. I think having that alive and well, because Magic is still huge, to have some dedicated space for the gaming.
Would
And that's
we do-
something we
yeah.
never really did. We tried to explore it under Brandon when he brought in those guys from Connecticut. They were going to do the Games Workshop stuff, but then that really didn't take off. And then Drew tried to do the Hero Clicks, and that didn't really take off. But I still think that there's something there to be explored, that needs to be explored.
I think just basic Friday Night Magic.
Yeah,
It's still
well,
strong. and
certainly that needs to happen.
But you need a judge.
Because you stopped doing that.
It became...
It was difficult, I know.
It was hard because we really didn't have a great magic judge
Right.
anymore. And it was just run by itself. So it's basically letting the inmates run it.
Yeah.
I think, without Z, who has his own place now, upstate,
How's he doing?
he got married.
Oh, yeah, good for him.
Mazel tov.
Yeah.
But no, I mean that sincerely. I don't remember who he was, but I wish him well.
Oh, he's a good kid.
Would we do pops? Would we do conventions?
I don't like those pops.
All right, so here's what I would do.
I know you love... I've been looking at pops all over this apartment.
We partner with Undiscovered Realm.
They love the pops.
We partner with Chris Wilcock and the Undiscovered
You
Realm
could split
operation.
cases.
We'll do something where they handle the pops and they're our convention arm, and they're spreading the brand
Yeah, that's
across the
something,
country.
Steve, that wish, in hindsight, when you had the comic shop, you could have owned that market, the convention market that Chris Wilcox does, doing the alternate realities con every Sunday or once a month or something, something we never thought about at that time.
No, I think, who is it?
Somebody did it.
Brandon wanted to do conventions or something, or
Right.
maybe it was Metal. But I think it's one thing to think, gee, wouldn't it be great to have our own convention? I think it's another thing to look at the practical
logistically,
business.
no,
It'd
not
be
to
a
have our
nightmare.
own, but to go to conventions.
Well, we could have done- we could have had our own.
It's
I mean,
a
think
lot.
about it.
It's an incredible amount of work. I mean, I always feel bad for Chris because what does he do? He does like 35 shows a year.
Right. That's why I'm
He's
not saying
always
we
on
would
the
do
road.
it.
Yeah,
That's why I'm not saying we would.
Yeah, it's a very tough thing to do show, even just to be an exhibitor at a show, because you take into account how much it costs to rent the table, to rent the truck, to pack up and get it all prepared a week before you load up the truck, to go down there, pay for parking, the logistics of trying to get into the convention center, whether you're dealing with unions or non-unions.
Yeah, Madison Square
How
Garden
much-
was always a nightmare to get in.
How much stuff you have to man that table all the time. So it means you have to have a crew there that you're going to feed as well as house if you're going to stay overnight. You've got to worry about all the shoplifting, which is incredible. I mean, things are getting stolen all the time. You hear about it after the show. Then to get that stuff back, when you run out of material, I mean, we're close enough that we could run back to the store, get more stuff, and bring it back to the show.
You and your dad used to come down with a
station
carload.
wagons.
Station
So,
wagon
yeah.
full of stuff.
And then you stay till the very end on the Sunday night after working 3 days in a row for 10, 12 hours, load the stuff, come back to here just to unload the car, and next thing you know, it's midnight, and you have to open the store the next morning, first thing.
Bill,
was exhausting.
Bill,
It was-
Anthony, you guys better have a strong business case to overcome this.
I mean, again, it's
I
great.
don't feel like we're arguing with
No,
him.
but it's great to say, let's do a show, and you come back and say,
Yeah.
hey, because I remember doing a show, and Brandon would come back and say, we made
We had wads of money.
$5,000.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, but that stuff cost us $3,000 wholesale. It cost us $1,000 to do this show.
Yeah, but we freed up the money.
That's all it was.
It was freeing up the
I
money
think
and the
that's-
space, too.
And so instead of doing it to blow it out to free up the money, I think the key to being successful is to order properly in the first place, not order 50 cases of McFarlane Austin Powers Series 2.
Well, that was when he was trying to
kind of
explore
stuff.
the internet.
Yeah, the internet
when-
to try to do wholesaling, make $5 on a case. But you put a lot of money out.
Because
to
he
do
saw
that.
what Fish was doing.
But we're not Fish.
Yeah.
And Fish only picked up a phone and says, hey, somebody wants you want a truckload of women's stockings.
Yeah.
And the guy would say, sure. And then he'd call the guy and say, okay, I'll take it, but just mail it to this place. And that'd be it. It's a whole different way of doing business.
Right.
And I don't think we were qualified to do that. And I don't think we had the manpower. We had the enthusiasm, but I don't think we had the knowledge or the common sense to do it.
Right. No, I'm not criticizing the decision
I'm
not
not.
to
I'm
do
saying-
it. I'm just saying we take someone who already has the mechanism for this, and we work with them. When Steve was going just now, Rich, this was I was surprised you weren't doing your little camera projector
No,
thing.
I'm trying to stay away from the visuals because I want to make sure the
Right.
listeners can follow.
But we can describe it at least, right? There have been moments where Steve goes on a rant like that, and what do?
I just do my cuckoo for
Oh, but I thought it was like you're running the.
Oh no, that was
no?
Drew's thing. When he would have his own show, we used to maintain Steve should have his own TV show or podcast. You wouldn't even need guests.
Just Oto rants.
Just get him on a topic.
Can I ask you another thing, Rich? There have been a lot of times over the years where like someone will mention Brandon, and you'll go Brandon Montclair, and you'll go, "Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee." What is that?
He used to do, like, literally, he used to do, like, that was what he would do.
Yeah.
Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. He would do this with his finger, too.
Like circus music?
Yeah,
Like,
you used to do that.
It's like the little monkey with the grinder or something like that. Yeah.
Like an organ grinder.
what else? So in alternate realities 2.0, hypothetically, what would you want to see there? Either in terms of the way we run it or a specific feature in the store.
Well, Rich, you've always been back issues. Steve, you just mentioned that we should do the back issues. I think that's a great idea, especially given light in the documentary that you just came out with. A lot of, I don't want to give away secrets, but a lot of people shared the same feelings that we shared at the end of Alternate Realities about new books and how and the ordering process and whatnot.
You need a hook.
You need a hook.
And I think that's something, you see that in the movie, and that's something that I've seen a lot. I think if you're relying just on the new books, it's very challenging. So I think you see these stores, they specialize in the vintage books or Funko Pops or events, creator signings, or they do conventions. Like there's got to be something to like, kind of amp it up a little bit.
Well, you need a balance. I'm not saying
Right.
don't carry new books, but don't order 50 copies of something that you know
just
you're
have your
you're
subscribers
only going to
and
sell
just
8
get
copies.
the books for them.
You know?
Yeah.
And if you do end up, say, ordering a lot of Marvel Apes or something that nobody wants.
Did you find that case?
No.
It's still somewhere.
One day I'm going to pop up and it's going to be a fortune. But
I hope so.
But but when you only sell 5 out of 50, then you may as if you have the way to get rid of that 45 extras right away instead of holding on to it like I do, then don't become a hoarder. Then you can I think then you'll be able to survive in today's market.
Right.
Maybe you want to keep 1 or 2 for the person who has the foresight to buy it. Yeah. It's a package.
But Rich, is there anything like a reading chair? Would you like that? So you don't have to sit in the back room, avoiding the.
I remember
rodent
that.
droppings?
Oh my gosh, I just got a flashback of just you sitting on the back computer chair reading comics on like a Saturday.
This is a hypothetical wish list. Don't be shy. It's all right. What would you like? What would you want to see in AR 2.0?
Sincerely, everything you guys have covered has impressed me. I think your point about diversifying and making it more than just one thing, having a hook, doing a varied presentation, back issues, new books, events, magic, signings, but hitting all those things. But I do think you need new books as the lure to get things in.
Well, new books are like the bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not exciting, but it's like having the newspaper come in every day. So you have to have it, but again, you have to be very good about ordering.
It's necessary, but not sufficient.
Yeah, you don't
for a successful
right.
business.
And like your brother Bill, was very into buying all the variants, and he would buy high grade variants, and he'd sell them for a ridiculous amount of money.
Right.
But I look at the variants as another flash in the pan type of thing.
Oh, I agree.
Like like Furbies were or Pogs
Or Pops.
Well, no, Pops I think has its.
I'm waiting for the crash of this. It's just
Really?
I don't know. They never appealed to me. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, I don't know. I see it's one of those things where you buy one pop,
Yeah,
one
it's
character that you
addicting.
really like. Next thing you know, it's like, well, let me just get this other character. I don't have to have all the Doctor Who's, but I like Missy.
I think Chris has
So,
made a
anyway.
good case for them in the breadth of licenses that they have. Like it's
Right.
not
It's
just
kind of impressive.
like one thing. It's
Yeah.
like any property that you like, there's a pop.
I'm going to come out and admit right now, I bought my first Pop not too long ago. I was at Target, and they had Audrey 2. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And I bought it. And it's sitting on my shelf. From Little Shop of Horrors, the little
The plant.
Venus flytrap. Yeah. It's great. It
see,
happens
that's
to be great
well,
because it
that's
doesn't have
the-
those pop eyes,
Yeah, no, but there's something for everybody.
Right, it's
Like,
true.
I would never buy a plant.
Yeah, it's great.
do you have it next to your Dr. Doom?
No, I don't.
Oh.
I have it on a different shelf. I love that Dr. Doom. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, you're
Bill, how would we handle Free Comic Book Day? Because I think that's one instance where
Freeloader Day.
we need to.
is what
It
Steve used
needs
to call
to
it,
be.
right? You did.
Yeah.
No, I have no. I'm the only one who. Well, no. The thing is, okay, I'm going to
People
go
would
another
come
rant.
in and they would be like, "Are all the books free?"
They don't realize we have to pay for this stuff. They don't just send it to us for free, right? That's part of the rant.
I was never ashamed to call.
Did you see what that variant, where the free comic book variant of Umbrella Academy #1 goes for?
No.
It's like a $400 book.
Really?
Do you have any?
No.
You should look.
Okay.
Okay.
You might have them. And
I
not know
might.
you
I mean,
have.
how long ago did that
It
come
was,
out?
I don't know, many years ago.
Oh, then maybe I do have it.
Yeah.
But I would want to honor Steve and AR 1.0 by kind of treating it like Freeloader Day. Don't
Yeah?
you think? I
Just
wouldn't
scream at people?
I don't. Here's the thing, right? You have 3,000 comic shops in the country. They do free comic book day.
They
free
do it
comic
right.
book day
We
way.
should do it the right way.
No.
Do you
according
think?
to us.
I don't know. We should do our own thing.
I think you're under the impression that everybody participates. Of the
Well, that's true.
What is it now? There's less than 3,000 comic book shops in
Right.
the country. I mean, there used to be 4,500 stores or better, but I think there's less than 3,000, of which, let's say, half of them really don't participate. So maybe 1,200, 1,500 stores actually get involved with Free Comic Book Day, and they do it in different degrees. Some will just have, maybe they'll order 6, the Marvel, the DC, maybe a couple of other independent free comic book piles to give out. Others make a big deal about it and have guests come in and have 100 people lined up before they open.
Does Lord Retail do that? These have
Or
guests?
they have
Yeah.
they have people lined up
Because Sheldon
like the
has,
night before.
Well, Sheldon has at Heroes has all these guests come, and
Yeah.
they make a huge day out of it.
Yeah, it's a huge thing.
Yeah. So I mean, it depends what you want to do with it. But I also think that it will burn you out after a while. I mean, I visited Joker's Child the other day.
That was Lenny.
He's burnt out.
Yeah.
You can tell. You know, his health is very bad.
They still have like a team of employees.
He's got his team, but they're not as good as they used to be. I mean, some of they're still there, but you can tell things have changed there. We can talk about it in private.
Yeah, I mean it's not an easy road for sure. But what's up, Rich?
I was going to ask, you went to Fat Moose yesterday. Was that your first visit?
First time, yeah. Because I got another one of those comic
Spinner
book
racks, right? Yeah.
So when you
got the
guys
paper
reopen the store,
sounds.
when you open the store, you'll have 2 spinner racks.
That's awesome.
Nice. Sean Hendricks was very excited that you went there. It was an alternate realities Fat Moose crossover.
That's super. I saw the pictures today on
Yeah.
Facebook. I loved it.
I
So
know.
you were like, "Oh, thanks for whatever." He's like, or he's like, "Thanks for whatever," and you were like, "Thanks for the packing paper."
He saved
Still
me-
collecting this stuff.
No, he saved me, because he knows that I put great value on packing paper
I
because
know.
every store throws it away.
Right.
So he actually
yeah.
folded the stuff up, put it into a box, and had SCO on it. And
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like, oh, this is as good as a comic book spinner because I go through so much of it now.
Right.
And again, thank you to Spider's Web, thank you to all these guys put their packing paper in the bubble wrap and the cardboard boxes aside for me.
Yeah.
And that I go through a ton of stuff to mail this stuff up on eBay.
My biggest wish is when you guys open the store AR 2.0, that Steve blasts the first customer that comes in and goes, "Well, I guess this just shows Daddy doesn't love you."
Oh my gosh. Such
Yes,
a great.
as you said to the last customer at AR 1.0.
Daddy doesn't love you.
You bring everything full circle. But on the packing materials, I can't tell you how many times we've gotten a shipment from Amazon or something, and I've said to Steph, like, "This is a great box." And she's like, "What is with you in the boxes?" I'm like, "It's a great box. It's whatever. It's an unusual size or shape, whatever." And I'm like, "This is a great box."
Keep
You do that
box.
too?
I do that too. At work, I just got a garage for my apartment, and I have packing peanuts like you would not believe in that garage because we get a lot of deliveries at work, and I steal every because they throw it out, and I grab it. This is worth its weight in gold.
Hold on to it. Really, hold on
I
to
do.
it. You're gonna when you start selling more stuff on
Yeah,
eBay, you'll be
I always-
glad you have,
I-
and you're gonna run out, and
I
then you're
know.
gonna be very upset.
It's very expensive when you have to go buy
it's
it.
I mean, if you have Amazon boxes, hold on to it and just let them.
Steve
No,
wants
I'll
your
come,
boxes.
I will come by and pick it up.
All right.
Listeners out there,
All right.
Steve, Steve, your empty
Sit down.
boxes.
Sit down.
It's okay, I will. So, if we were to ever bring back alternate realities, I think there are ways to do it to make it
Yeah.
viable, to honor what came before, but also to move into a new direction for a new generation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there is a set of circumstances that if they came together, I would entertain it.
I would certainly entertain it.
One thing that I maybe more immediately that I actually would be kind of interested in, I've had this idea recently. You know, when you go to New York Comic Con, I'm not saying I would do this at New York Comic Con, but you go to New York Comic Con, Midtown Comics, right? They basically recreate their store on the floor. I would love, like Undiscovered Realm Comic Con at the Westchester County Center, Chris's show, if we got the largest booth space available and did like a mini recreation, like
realities?
an AR pop-up shop at a convention. How
I
freaking
will
cool
fly
would that
across
be?
the country. You tell me anytime, anywhere. I'll be there.
How awesome would that? Like, we wouldn't have all the back issue bins, but you have one bin and maybe like one bookcase.
statue showcase.
We recreate a little register area. Like, we
Oh
make it
my
look
gosh.
as close to AR as we could.
And have Steve stand adjacent to the register.
Could we have Jay Mizell eating a sandwich on the table?
Yeah.
Fold out table.
Time has stood still.
How cool would that
I
be?
love it. Could we have
That's-
the wall of the comic book wall?
We could have whatever we want.
I
And we
just-
have the merchandise. And that's the thing. It's not just for fun. We'll actually sell some stuff.
Uh-oh.
You think?
Well, we'll do our best.
Remember the last show we did?
Yeah, at the county center, not URCon, but I remember. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we set up very nicely a great variety of back issues. I mean, it was like a run of Walking Dead when Walking Dead was big. What do you have? I had a Hulk 181 there, didn't I? I think a really
Maybe.
nice copy. Had all back issue boxes out there, toys, statues, all kinds of stuff. Really, at it's discounted prices, and it was terrible for us. I had a lot of people come up and just chat with us because it's like, well, they're our customers anyway. Mm-hmm. But you have all these strangers looking and say, "Oh, that's a great book. I wish I could get that book," but nobody has money, so it's like it wasn't a money maker. So I think you've got to go into the show with more of an attitude of let's have a great reunion show, but really we have to make money at this. And I think that's why Chris is successful at doing these things. He's not there to make it look like Undiscovered Realm, even though it does, because it's nothing but a wall of pops. But he's there to like push the product and get it out there.
but I'm saying one could feed the other, and I feel like there are a lot of former AR customers. Of course, you'd have to reach them, but if they knew that we were doing something like this, I feel like there's an opportunity there. So I agree. I'm not saying like, oh, we should pay for this booth space like just to have a fun day. We would also be there to sell stuff, but I think there could be a hook of AR's back for a day.
You can have the old customers just in this space talking like they would normally talk on a Saturday, just hanging out.
But you could do that at the store. You don't have to do it at a show and set it all up. And
We should go to that Steam Center and just do it there.
Yeah.
Just walk in.
We'll just walk in. We'll be
Tell
like,
everybody to
just
come.
you have the day off. Like, just, yeah.
We need this space.
Well, the massage parlor's still open right next door.
no, it's not, is it?
the
Yeah.
massage parlor is gone, and the Joy's hair.
Yeah.
is
So those
gone.
spots are still vacant.
Yeah. You just
So we
walk
could
in.
just move right next
Right.
door. That'd be great. What is it, $6.99?
We have a,
Central Avenue or
we have a
701?
sign that'll fit exactly in that
Yeah.
sign space.
There's so much opportunity here. But what do you think about the convention thing?
I
That's
love
more doable.
I think that's a great idea. I would die if that were to happen.
I just see that as the last show we ever did, and that's what would kill the
Oto's always been very much a contrarian. I think we've all.
Not a contra- I'm a realist.
I think let's flip this. There's no way this would work. This would never.
I'll make it work.
Bill, what have we said for years? How do you get Steve to do
You
something?
get a pretty girl to say it. And Steve is ready and willing to do it.
Yeah. And our second thing is, how do you get Steve to do something? You tell him he can't.
Yeah.
Steve, Heroes World, not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal when that store opened or when it closed. Nobody cared, right?
Nobody I knew cared.
So it doesn't always work.
No.
Did you talk about it in that episode when that girl sold the
Yeah.
FF1 for $400?
Yeah, we told that story.
$500, yeah. Or for $5.
$5. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
The price tag had faded. So she didn't see it. It's $500. She thought it was $5. Did you get a message from Kevin?
Oh, I'm glad you reminded me.
Yeah.
Yes, he reached out to you as well.
Yeah, he just said, there was a second location that
Yeah.
you weren't familiar with.
So Kevin Halstead, he made a little cameo appearance in the season premiere. I did a remote recording with him, and then the full conversation was the Patreon bonus episode the week later. But after the premiere went up, he sent me very nice, but he sent me a long Facebook message of like everything we got wrong in the episode. And the heart of it really all came from the fact that there were two. Heroes World had an original location, and then they moved across the hall in the Galleria. And you knew that they had two locations, but we thought we were talking about the same one. And the whole time you were talking
I
about
was
the
talking
first
about the
one.
first one.
And even I mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, I knew this guy there, Raul. And you were like, oh, that's the guy who fell asleep drunk at the counter. And that was not the same person. Right. But I said to Kevin, I was like, you know what? I said, first of all, obviously Kevin has the firsthand experience. He knows. Most people don't, so they wouldn't necessarily even know. And second, I think it was pretty clear that neither one of us had the firmest grasp of the history of the place. So even if someone was like, that sounds a little off, I think they would chalk it up to 30 years having gone by. So, but
the second location, I don't think I had much contact with.
You probably didn't.
Because by that time, what is that? That's late 80s?
Well, yeah. I mean, by the time I went there in '92, so
Yeah.
certainly by then, but at least a couple of years before.
Yeah, I don't think I even shopped at that point because I was living in Chappaqua at that point. Right. I was shopping with Gene.
Look, we had such a great conversation about the store. We're talking about two
something
different
that never
stores.
happened.
So good.
Yes, but he did reach out.
Okay.
So he reached out to you as well.
He just mentioned it to me and gave me a quick rundown of what he had been doing between points because I had forgotten that he worked for Heroes World Distribution.
Yes.
So I don't know if you knew about that.
I did, yeah, and we talked about that in in his episode. So, but well, and people still love the episode. We got almost all the details wrong, but no. Again, it was mostly just that we were talking about two separate locations and didn't really realize that. So, any other hopes or anything for what the future of AR could potentially be?
I don't know. I would love to have some kind of like an artist corner or like an artist area. Wouldn't that be great? What?
No. I'm sorry.
Tell me more.
Okay.
There we go, the contrarian.
You can't have a sofa for Rich to sit in. I mean, that space is too valuable. You have to have nothing but stuff you're going to sell.
Sorry, Rich.
My problem, of course, was that I used
Hit
a lot.
the road, Rich.
I wasted a lot of store space by just piling up unopened boxes. You know, I mean, I put them under tables that had stuff on it for sale, but sometimes the stuff on the tables were stuff for not for sale
You
either.
had stuff blocking showcases that had merchandise in them.
So that's a mistake on my part. It can't be. I mean, as much of a clubhouse as it is, it's got to be limited to. How can I say it? I've already forgotten what you're saying.
For an artist.
It's not a convention for an artist alley.
Yeah.
With you don't want a drafting table in the back for some artist to come and sit there and everybody stands around and watch.
But I
Works
think
with, what's his name
that
at
that's
All
a
Yeah Comics,
draw.
no? They have that, actually.
All Yeah has that, or
Yeah.
they used to have
They
that.
don't have
And
that
I
That
think they-
room is an arcade room.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, because
they changed it?
it was a waste of space and money to have a table there because people are going to stand there looking through the glass like you're a zoo animal as you're drawing.
Well, I have seen it work a couple of times at Dewey's and at other places.
Oh, Dewey's. Hey, let's reveal another secret. I don't mean to cut you off, but that reminds me. Earlier in season 3, people always ask me about this. I told a story about how one of the shops that I featured that season was very angry with me because I combined their recording with another recording, and because not every store got its own episode by itself. And it was Dewey's, and I'm comfortable sharing that now because Dewey's is under new management.
Yes.
And from what I hear, he's a great guy, and it's
He's
fine.
an artist. He went to the
He
Cooper
is.
School.
But it's the original owner who was on
Yeah.
the show. He was not pleased. That was the store. A lot of people thought it was one of the Palm Desert stores. It was not them. They were great. Anyway, good. We wish the new Dewey's owner lots of luck.
Well, the new Dewey's owner last summer brought in Lee Weeks, who was a graduate of the Kubert School, and I do think he was drawing sketches, but he was doing signings, and people were buying stuff in the store just so he could sign it. So I think a judicious use.
Oh no, I'm not saying don't do signings. I was against signings because we never had much of a draw with it. But I mean, if you do it right, obviously it works. I'm saying do not dedicate a drafting table that's just going to sit there empty and collecting dust 3 weeks out of the month.
Wait, is that what you meant,
Because-
Bill?
Well, I mean, something like that.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to do that. When you have the signing, you get the stuff off the table. You get your pops off the table. You set a chair down there and a mug of water or something like that, so the guy can sit and he can sell stuff, talk to the fans, and that type of thing. Just do the events, but don't have a blank corner for this is the event corner for the once every other month that you.
What about a big mural area that people like local artists can come in, do something
Just
for
on the
weird
wall?
stuff?
Like
Yeah.
Challengers Comics has behind their counter. They don't in Chicago. They don't have like old books hanging on the wall. They have a board that people draw on.
Well, again, it's
That'd
a
be
nice
cool.
draw, but I think it's better to have something that you're going to sell. Like the whole idea is you got to make rent. You got to pay these diamond bills. All these guys that go out of business can't make enough money. It's not that they're having having a great time, but it's a business.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, we were lucky that we happened to be in a time and we actually did very well.
We were lucky, Anthony and I and Rich too, in that we got to experience the fun and not any of that.
But I
And
mean,
we appreciate you for bearing that burden for us.
My fear for you guys is if you do this, and I back you all the way, and I'll run the store on Sundays and chase everybody out if you want. But
They might not want that.
oh, they only
They
come
might
in on
not want
Sundays. But
They might want your endorsement and your name, and that's it.
Closed on Sundays, but Steve will be here in case you want to be abused. But
Just a sign on the door. Hey, read this. People knocking at the
It
door.
better be an emergency.
no, the sign said, "Do not knock on this glass unless you're bleeding and need me to call 911." No. I guess the concern is that you want it to be what the atmosphere of alternate realities. But I look at it now and think I see too many stores who are struggling.
Oh, absolutely.
And even the stores that used to be successful are struggling. So it's not that they're doing anything differently from what they did 10 to 15 years ago. It's just that the market has changed and you have to change with it. And if you don't like Pops, it's too bad. You still have to carry some Pops. I didn't like carrying Pogs. I thought it was a scam for us to be selling little round
Cardboard.
pieces of cardboard for 10 cents a piece. But we made $100 in the first hour on a Saturday morning. We didn't sell a single comic book. We made $100 selling round pieces of cardboard. You know, and
incredible.
And it's like what's that other thing that people put money into? That Beanie Baby.
Right. Well,
You
I
know.
think we got Rich. You got something?
No, my biggest question is when you guys start your new endeavor, will you create new signs or do you still have the old signs that go, don't touch? And then when they open it up, I told you not to touch this.
I still have some of the signs if you need
I
them.
still have a new. I have a new sign at home.
No, but Steve, your points are well taken. It's funny. I feel like we have a little bit of a disconnect here because I think Bill and I are very much in agreement. Like we would view it as a business, and I think some of the frustrations that maybe we had in the past were that we wanted you to look at it more that way. Like there were collections you would buy and you would hold on to them because you like knowing you had them. So like I think we're
The
very
Batman
much
collection is a great example of that.
yeah, like I think we're very much on the same page. Like, no, we want to turn product over. We want to make money. I think though what we're focusing because we're reminiscing and we're talking about the feel of it. Yes, there are certain elements we want to inject it with from what we remember as kids and high schoolers and college students. But
Right.
no, ultimately, I mean, yeah, the purpose would be to make money. It's not like, and even with the pop-up convention thing, it's not like, oh, like we just
a
want to have a
booth.
fun day. It's like, no, we want to like clear out the warehouse. So I agree.
Oh, no. So, okay. I have a lot of thoughts in my head, but I can't figure out which one to pull out right now. So, okay.
But this has been a lot of fun to sort of speculate about what we might do, and no one really knows what the future will bring. So
Absolutely, I would love to talk about that further one day.
yeah, well, we might have that conversation at some point, and it'd be a fun one to have.
If I could just, if you do this,
Yeah.
you got to get your brother.
Oh, he's very business savvy.
Yeah,
Especially with CGC books.
CGC books and Golden Age books, and he really follows the market.
Oh, he knows it like the back of
So
his hand.
I mean,
It's
you know,
incredible.
you might have a terrible week, and he will sell enough to like cover your week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's with
the things he does is
yeah.
incredible just to hear about.
Yeah. So that you want that's another aspect of the store that
that's
we
something
didn't
that's-
do that you take
absolutely.
advantage. Or if like you,
But
if
that
you,
wasn't a thing when we were doing the store. Like
know.
CGC books, the way that they're flipping it and trading it like stocks, that wasn't a thing.
right.
It
but
is now.
But it's a nice supplement, and if you have a niche into that, you take advantage of it. And again, even if you don't like certain things, but you say, well, everybody wants to get a skateboard or whatever it is, that's going to be the hot thing for 2025. You know, you carry it, and then you stop carrying it when nobody wants it anymore.
But that's a good point, and I think
These are lessons that I didn't learn.
right.
That's why you, if you're going to do it to be successful, you're going to have to.
And I think, though, to that point, surrounding yourself with the right people is really important. And, you know, by the end of the store, I mean, you were shouldering this mostly by yourself. And I think it's hard to cover everything. Like, I look at a lot of these stores, and you have, you know, like at Acme Comics, you have Lord Retail. He does the ordering, and he reads everything. But, you know, they have a great staff there who they do the newsletter, and they do all this other stuff, and social media. You know, Zap is a great example of this. Ben's all over the place buying collections.
But
And you have Corey running the
Corey doing the
day-to-day of the
social
store.
media.
So I think bringing in the right people with the right interest and the right expertise is a really key piece of this. So again, a lot of ingredients, and we know it certainly wouldn't be easy, but it's something that, again, that might be a conversation to have at some point. My comic shop future.
I like it.
I love it.
We've now come to this point. I would like to give, is there anything else that any of you would like to say before I offer my parting words?
I don't want to end.
It's never the end. It's never the end, Bill.
Well, that's good.
Even though it's the finale, it's never the end. People know that by now, I think.
Well, I look forward to seeing whatever you do in the future, that's for sure, and I wish you luck on that. And any help that I can give or any role that I can play, just let me know.
Amen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm almost, even though I don't have much of an eye because I can't see very well anymore, I'd be happy to run the camera for you if you do the whole
I don't know.
thing.
You think you could be a cameraman?
No, I can't see.
Well, I want to say...
I just point it in the direction of the sound.
So it's like everybody's nauseous. You just go back and forth.
Actually, Steve's going to be your public relations manager. What are you, crazy?
My goodness. Well, thank you all, and if you'll indulge me, some closing remarks here. Thus endeth the alternate reality saga, and with it, this era of my comic shop history. By the time this episode airs, I will be a father. I don't know if my son will become a comic book fan. It's okay if he doesn't. But one day, I will take him to 700 Central Park Avenue. Perhaps it'll still be an after-school learning center then, perhaps not. Before it was alternate realities, it used to be a piano store. Maybe one of the kids or parents at the center will ask what it was, and someone will say, I think it was a comic book store. If they only knew. One day, I'll be in that parking lot with Milo, and I'll tell him, this was a very special place, my son. It's where your old man grew up, made the best friends, and found his voice. It's where I learned how to spot a good cardboard box and to always keep backups. It's also where I learned that if there's something you want in this world, you must take action and never hesitate, because hesitation kills. Part of the journey is the end, but when the time is right, when there is new history to make and new stories to tell, I will return. Until then, my friends, don't be a flat squirrel.
Even death won't stop me. I'll